This is RockCard, and I'm back with another YouTube video. And this time I want to talk about a very important topic, especially if you are a Pokemon card collector, and that is on how to properly store and protect your Pokemon cards. Before we get into that topic, you might have noticed that I added an intro video. And just leave some comments below, guys. Let me know what you think about my intro video. It did take me, I want to say just a few hours to think about an idea of what I wanted to put in my intro video. So yeah, just let me know what you think. And also, I know I've been gone for some time, and I was looking at my status as far as videos go, and it seems like I've got about 23 videos, 24 with this one now. And I've only been on this channel, or I've only had this channel active for about a month. So I wanted to just take it easy a little bit and just get myself organized, get all my cards organized and whatnot. So that's why you haven't seen me for quite some time. I think it's been about 2 weeks. Anyway, I do plan to put up some videos regularly. I'm going to try to do 2 times a week because I'm not doing YouTube full time. But if I can do 2 videos a week, I will definitely have 1 video at least every Sunday, regularly, every Sunday. So yeah, just want to let you guys know. So anyway, back to the topic of this video, how to store and protect your cards. I'm sure it's happened to all of us where, we get a booster pack and you probably, an example, you open up your cards and you get all these and all these, and you start counting your cards, and then you realize, oh my god, I got a holo card. And then what do? More than likely, if you're a responsible person, what you're going to do is you're going to put this card away, right? It's the only responsible and sensible thing to do, especially if it's a holo card. And maybe if you just got the regular non-holo cards, you'll probably set them off to the side somewhere. Just gonna pan back a little bit. You'll probably put them off to the side somewhere. Now, you might think that having these cards in your room, it's not a bad idea. But, however, it actually is, and it can actually distort your cards for 2 reasons, which are dust and moisture. Now, say that you leave your cards out in the open, just like you see in front of you, for a few hours. Okay, it's going to be fine. But if you leave it out for days, what can happen? Well, if you get dust on your card, I mean, the easiest thing to do would be to just grab the card, and if there's dust on it, wipe it off, blow on it, get it off. Nothing bad. However, if you really want to store and protect a nice card such as this one, that's a holo card, or even an EX card, just as the one you see in front of me right here, what dust can actually do, it can be very abrasive, and maybe small tiny particles will actually leave scratches on your holo card. So that's not good, right? You don't want to do that. You want to keep your card in mint condition as possible. So that's one reason why you don't want to leave, especially holo cards, out in the open, so that dust will settle on them and then cause abrasion on the card. The second reason that you don't want to leave your cards out in the open for a very long time is because of moisture. Now, if you're going to be opening up cards in a room where there's absolutely no type of airflow, that can be good, but it could also be bad. It could be bad, or better yet, it could be good because there's nothing flowing in there, so there might be no room for moisture. But at the same time, in some cases, it could be bad because that could also set the perfect condition to create moisture. So think of paper. You dampen paper a little bit, what's going to happen to it? It's going to get warped, right? Well, take a look at the 3 cards in front of you. and something you might notice, and I'll explain the differences right now. This card was left out for a few days, and as you can see, it was left in the dry area, and as you can see, it's not quite flat, but it's still not bad. Okay, now take a look at this card. That was left out for a much longer time in a room where there's a bit of airflow, and at times there is a bit of moisture. Now notice that not only is it not flat, but it's also warped. See? Now, here's an EX card that as soon as I took it out of the pack, it is slightly bent, but as soon as I took it out of the pack, I put it in the sleeve and then I put it away. So if you really want to keep your cards in mint condition, as soon as you get them out of the booster pack, put them away. Either put them in the sleeve and then top loader, or in a binder sheet. Whatever it is, do it as soon as possible, especially with all of your holo cards. That is of the utmost importance to do. Now I get it, sometimes there's no time, you got some other things to do, and that's fine, but at the very least, make sure that you protect your holo cards as best as you can. So now we're going to talk about a couple ways for you to protect your cards. First off, if you got a holo card, one of the things that you're definitely going to want to do, or at least get, is a binder sleeve card protector. And in this case, these are top loading sleeves, but there's also side loading sleeves which work just as well, and you want to make sure that you get the right size. So if you're like me and you started to organize your cards, probably what's going to happen after a while is that you're going to get a bunch of these filled up. So obviously you're probably going to end up getting one of these, a binder, right? Let me just pan out a bit. You get a binder and you fill it up with all these binder sleeves. Now, one thing you definitely don't want to do, guys, is whenever you're going to store your binder, you do not want to store it this way. Why? Well, although that looks fine, what's going to happen is that the cards that are at around the middle point and at the bottom are going to start to bend because all the weight's being pushed down on them. So whenever you store binders with sleeves on them, make sure you store them standing upright. Okay? So that's one thing. Now, something that I like to do, especially with holo cards, if I'm going to store them in binder sleeves, and I only do this with all my holo cards, whether they're rare condition or not, is that I'll put them inside of a sleeve itself. So I'll just pop this in here, right, and then slide it into the binder sleeve. Again, just adding another layer of protection for holo cards. With regular cards, non-holo cards, I'll just put them away in here and I'll be done with it, right? Now, a couple things about sleeves. There's a couple of different types of sleeves you can get out there. One of them, it's these guys right here, which are just clear. These are very durable. They're very hard, and you could say. So they do add a very great layer of protection. Now, if you ever want to get one of those, they usually sell them in packs of 50, as you see here. And very rarely I've seen packs of 100 for standard size cards. But if they're out there, more likely I wouldn't doubt it. So make sure you get yourself enough sleeves if you're going to buy a couple of booster packs. And a good way to plan ahead, say you buy, an example, 10 booster packs. Well, you know that at the very least you're going to get 10 hollow cards, because you're going to find reverse hollows with the current booster packs, right? So you want to have at the very least 10 of these sleeves. So if you buy these guys, I mean, typically they're like $4 or $5 at a card shop. I found this store on eBay. I got a really good deal on it. I bought actually 200 of these, and I bought them, I think it was like 10 bucks or 14 bucks, whatever it was. And I'll put the link down below. So make sure you always get some sleeves when you're going to buy some booster packs. Now there's other kind of sleeves. My famous blue sleeve, as you see here. These are actually matted card protectors. So they got this type of a back layer that's like a sort of a hard plastic. Now on the inside they are pretty smooth, and on the outside it seems like they're a little more textured. There's nothing wrong with that. Typically though, these are used for cards that are played with. So if you're gonna play some cards, you know, if you're not just a collector but you're actually somebody that plays the Pokemon card game, trading card game, these are good to continue to protect the life of your cards, especially if you're going to be like whipping them out and, you know, slamming them on the table, so on and so forth. All right, guys. Now, let's say that you get a really awesome ultra rare card, say for example a gold Zekrom card that you might have seen that I got in one of my previous videos. And probably one of the things you want to do is store them as best as you can, and that's where these guys come in. Top loaders, which are somewhat of a hard plastic and plastic sleeve. And then there's other ones, which are these guys right here. These are a little bit more flexible. They're not bad. Honestly, I wouldn't use these to store them just because they're bulky in size as far as length goes. I mean, if you put them in a box somewhere, I mean, this is just going to take up unnecessary room. So there are these two kinds. Now, typically, what someone that doesn't know how to store their cards, what they're going to do is this. They're going to take their hollow card, and even especially if it's a rare card, and then they're going to put it in here, right, and call it a day. They store their card, maybe put it in a box. That is a big no-no. Why? Well, this is a top loader card, and it has a pretty, a pretty big opening. You might not see it that well. So what can happen? Well, not just moisture, but dust can get in there. And even if you want to take your card out and you've left it in there for a very long time, at first you might do something like that. You might try to get it out of there, and if you're like me, you might struggle with it. But then once you like bend it out, doing that multiple times, especially if you're going to transfer, card, anywhere, or transport it anywhere, that can actually damage the card. So what you want to do is you want to first put it in a sleeve. All right, you put it in a sleeve, and then you put it in a top loader. Alright, there you go. Then you drop it like that. Now your card is fully protected, even from rubbing against the inside of the top loader. Okay? Now, one thing that I like to do, something that I saw someone else do, is that they add an extra layer of protection. And what people do is that they'll grab these plastic bags called team bags, because although this is very well protected, there is a possibility that dust and maybe even moisture can still get into these top loaders. So just get these things called team bags. They usually sell them in packs of like 100, and again, they're fairly cheap. And all you do is they're resealable bags. You just pop it in here, take off this this coating, and then you seal the card. or you seal the bag, better yet said. You seal the bag, there it is. Now it's not going to come out at all, and there is just an extra layer of protection that you add on there, right? So something else you can do. Now, some of these top loaders I was talking about earlier, something that people will do or typically use these for is to ship cards. And you know, even card shops will sometimes use these. And again, I don't really like these, but if you're going to use them to ship them, fine. Again, what you don't want to do is this that I'm doing here. Just pop it straight in here, you know, and here this one's kind of stiff. See, that can actually ruin that card. And, you know, if you're somebody that wants to ship a card to someone, you're not going to do something like this. You know, honestly, again, put this into a sleeve, and it's even hard to take out. And see, I even dented it. And I'm okay, guys. I have already damaged this card, as you might have remembered before. But I ended up getting another one, so I just got this card because it's already warped and damaged. And I'm okay with ruining this card a little bit more. Even though that's not what I would typically do. So, I mean, yeah. If you're going to ship cards out in these top loaders right here, put it into a sleeve and then put it inside of here. That way you could ship it and it'll still be protected properly. And you know, typically they'll sell these things in, I think, packs of like 25. And top loaders right here, as you see here, there's packs of 25. Again, these things I think were like $5 or typically. And I'll put a link on my down below of that one store on eBay. I think it's called like ACS Pacific Supply, something like that. They're fairly cheap, and you know, if you definitely want to get this brand, Ultra Pro, you know, they're a very good brand. Now, as far as sleeves go, there's also other types of sleeves called penny sleeves. Now, these are a little bigger, and they're also, as you're going to notice right now, a little flimsier, if you want to call it. They're not as stiff as the other Ultra Pro sleeves. So see, they're like fairly flexible. And for storage, I wouldn't really use these for storage. Like if you're going to leave it outside for a bit, if you're going to put it into one of these guys, make sure you put it into one of these binder sleeves. However, this is not a bad idea to use if you're going to put into a top loader. If you want to economize a little bit, these are typically a little cheaper. They're like $1 for about, how many were in here? I think like 100. Yeah. So they're typically about $1 for 100, as opposed to the other guys, the other Ultra Pro cards, which have 50 in there, and these are a little bit more expensive. But if you want to economize a little bit, I would definitely suggest you only use these if you're going to put it away in binder sleeves, and or if you're going to put it into a top loader. You know, this is actually not a bad alternative. Okay. Okay. That way you have that stored. Okay. Now, something that people will also do at times, which is also a very bad idea, is that they'll store 2 cards into one of these sleeves. So, on top of putting a card here at the front, here, let me just get some cards really quick to show you what I mean. On top of putting a card here in the front, they'll also do one of these and do double storage. That is also a bad idea. And although you do gather more room, you know, if you do 2 cards, if you store 2 cards that way, you can actually damage the backs of each of these cards. These are damaged cards. I'm not worried about them. Somebody gave these to me. So you could actually damage the back of these cards, and you could easily lose their glare and mint condition type. Now, another thing that people will do is that they'll take cards and carry them in these things. And these are actually pretty nifty cases. There's actually several sizes of them. There's thicker ones and even thinner ones. However, something you definitely want to be careful with, guys. I'll show you an example using these code cards. If you put them in here, you store it, and you close it, they can actually, you know, shake around. So, you know, and that could end up damaging the edges of the cards. So if you're going to use these, what I would suggest, especially with any hollow cards, put them in sleeves. If you're going to be using cards that are just regular cards, non-hollow cards, and you're okay with damaging them, just be aware of that can damage them. Typically, however, what I've seen is that people will only use these types of cases for storage and display. So they have like these large glass tables, and then they'll sit these there, and they'll probably put like one card or a deck of cards that they're not going to be moving around, and then when they want to sell them or give them away or trade them, then they take them out and, you know, they just pop them out of here and give it to them. Now, if you're going to be going into Pokemon tournaments, I wouldn't suggest using these. In fact, there's a much better alternative to these, and they are called deck boxes. Now, deck boxes will hold a considerable amount of cards. This is an Ultra Pro deck box, and I think this will hold about 60 cards, and these are matted. So if you're gonna put some cards in here, again, I'll use some code cards as an example, you're still gonna have some cards in there shaking around. However, this is a matted box, so it's not gonna have a greater impact on the edges of your cards as it would in these guys. However, if you're still going to store hollow cards in here that you plan to use, I would still sleeve those up just to make sure that your cards aren't stored. And as far as storing multiple cards into top loaders, I would not do that either, just because of the same reason that it could damage cards, especially when you want to take them out of here. I mean, I couldn't see why someone would want to do that. As a matter of fact, not too long ago, somebody sent me some cards, and they were some nice cards, and then they sent me an EX card in one of these top loaders, but it wasn't sleeved. So of course, when I took it out, I was able to see some very small scratches on there, which meant that the card wasn't in mint condition anymore. It was in good condition, but not in mint condition. And of course, guys, you never, ever, ever, and I mean ever, want to store multiple cards in one sleeve, okay? I had someone do that to me too, and of course, as soon as I took the cards out, I started to see a couple of cards with some scratches on there. So I'll show you what I mean. They had like 2 cards, and they were hollow cards, mind you. I mean, if they were non-hollow cards, I wouldn't have been that upset. But then they had some hollow cards like this, like, you know, in there, like it was like really jammed in there, just like this is getting jammed in there. I still don't understand why they did that. I don't know how that made sense. So, you know, if you're going to send cards to get graded, or if you're going to ship cards to someone else, maybe somebody that you're trading cards with, somebody you sold a card to, you do not want to store multiple cards in one sleeve. Like, I can't even get this out of here anymore. Like, and that's exactly what happened with that other one. I was like struggling with it. So, you know, if somebody buys a card from you, you know, make the shipment worth their money. You know, don't try to store multiple cards and then send it in some cheap envelope that can easily be bent, which is something that happened to me. You know, make it worth their while. Make it seem that card they bought from you is actually worth it. Something we mentioned earlier is that sometimes, when we get some cards out, get them out of booster packs, it could be that you might store your holo cards right away. But then what happens to the non-holo cards? Well, typically, we might put them off to the side and then just leave them there for a long time. If you're going to do that and you perceive that you're not going to be storing your cards anywhere for quite a long time, grab yourself one of these boxes. They are meant for card storage. Other people will use just regular shoe boxes, and that's fine too. Just make sure that you want to put them in a place where they're not going to have dust falling on top of them or even moisture. In this case, I got this for about, I think, $3 or $4, and I can get 3 rows of cards. And right now they're falling down right now because I just moved it out. And then that's just a great way to store your cards. At times, you also might want to consider using cards that are just one row boxes. I mean boxes that can store just one row of cards. In my case, I'll show you this box that I have here. This is a one row card storage box, and as you can see, here's where I store all of my blue sleeve rares and ultra rares cards. And I did something, as you might have seen earlier, put it in a sleeve, top loader, and then a team bag. So just another way to store your cards, and it's a great way to store either your holo cards, your rares, your ultra rares, or even just your regular non-holo cards. Again, to save up some space and at the same time protect them. So that's just something I really wanted to cover in this video. I hope it's useful to you, and leave some comments below, give me some feedback, let me know what you think. Alright guys, so this is one of the topics I really wanted to talk about, and in my next video I'm going to be talking about the most efficient way to identify a real Pokemon card from a fake Pokemon card. And then I'm also going to be opening up some Primal Clash Elite Trainer boxes. So stay tuned for that, and we'll be seeing you soon. And this is RockCard tuning out.